Hey, what is up, guys? I want to talk about what is happening in regards to the market, forbearance, and foreclosure. So let's get into the article. First, America actually has something. A deputy chief economist was doing analysis and figured this out and stated this: despite the federal foreclosure moratorium, there were fears that up to 30% of homeowners would require forbearance, ultimately leading to a foreclosure tsunami. Forbearance did not hit 30%, but rather peaked at 8.6% and has been steadily falling since. First off, this is just great news. The fact that we didn't even hit 30%, what housing experts were suggesting, and instead we hit 8.6%. Now, you're thinking to yourself, oh, we still hit 8.6%, we're still quite high. Well, here's the good thing. First off, forbearance is essentially this: the loan servicer grants the person, in this case because of COVID-19, without affecting their credit, grants the individuals who have the debt either to stop payments or to have reduction in their payments. And this shouldn't affect their credit score, except there's a little issue with Wells Fargo, but that's besides the point. That's a lawsuit that is still just started up. So going back to this information, the fact that we're at 8.6%, if we follow along with the data, in August 14th, 2020, by Black Knight, they actually stated this in the title of their article: forbearance below 4 million for the first time since April. Now that was about 7.4% compared to the 8.6% peak that we saw early on. Then on August 21st, they released another article by Black Knight. Total number of past due mortgages improves in July while serious delinquencies climb. Monthly prepayment activity hits a 16-year high. So basically, people who are in forbearance are making their payments at a time because they have the capability to. Now, there is a serious delinquency. It's about 1.8 million, and the concern with that is they're 90 days past due. That's serious delinquency. And one of the questions comes into, since the end of August, moratorium has ended for forbearance, and the question comes down to, will this lead to a foreclosure? Well, it seems like so far foreclosures have been muted. It hasn't been skyrocketing yet. So overall, we're looking okay. Now we're going back to the First America title, and we're looking actually at dual triggers. She goes into saying this: a loan economic hardship and a lack of equity are each necessary but not sufficient to trigger a foreclosure. It is only when both conditions exist that foreclosure becomes a likely outcome. So there's really two opportunities here: lack of equity and economic hardship. Well, states shut down, business closed up, some businesses aren't going to come back because of that. But the lack of equity, well, in 2004, if you look at the chart we're showing here, in 2007, 2008, it shows the difference between home equity, and which is the green line, versus home equity in July of 19. And there is a stark difference. We are at a really high record when it comes to the number of homes that have equity. Or for 50% of homeowners have over 50% equity, which creates a nice little barrier from a possible foreclosure crash happening, which is awesome, by the way, because it gives you two options. And this is where she goes further into the article to discuss that. Option number one is that you sell your property. And because nationally, and especially in Austin, it's a seller's market. Yes, there's going to be outliers about other places that are seeing the exact opposite. Granted, that happens. But overall, it's a seller's market. So option number one is to sell your home and you have equity. You're not underwater and you're able to cover your debts. Option two is you refinance. Now, there is a bit of a delay depending on where you are as far as in getting refinancing, because lenders are prioritizing home buyers right now. But overall, that's the second option to hopefully help you weather the storm. And we actually look at the Federal Reserve St. Louis data. There was an article they actually released earlier in August. And it's basically discussing the unemployment rate and where the projection's going. The unemployment rate increased sharply in 2020 recession from 3.5% to February to nearly 15% in April, before falling back to 11.1% in June. Figure 3 compares the unemployment rate in the 2020 recession and the Great Depression. In contrast with the sharp rise at the beginning of the 2020 recession, the unemployment rate rose gradually during the initial months of the Great Depression, from about 2% in late 1929 to a bit less than 4% in June 1930. The unemployment rate continued to rise, however, reaching 25% in 1933 and remained above 10% throughout the 1930s. The blue chip consensus forecast projects a decline in the unemployment rate to below 10% by the end of 2020 and continues to decline in 2021. The projections are looking positive. This was a rapid unemployment because of the shutdowns. As things hopefully we won't have a second resurgence, and we'll continue to see things open back up and people get back to work. I actually have a chart that shows how consumer spending went, and one of the things that are actually lagging behind is arts, entertainment, and transportation, which can explain a little bit of the supply chain. But overall, groceries, apparel, healthcare, and restaurants have been rapidly going back to normal levels pre-COVID. So those are good news. So unemployment rates declining, home equity is at all-time high, foreclosure is pretty much muted right now. Now the question is, okay, are these a lot of loans that are heavily in debt? Well, yes, possibly, and possibly no. I don't know exactly the information on that. The credit availability standards are a lot more strict. According to Index, we're still even though they have loosened standards slightly this past summer, we're still looking at mortgage credit availability much lower compared to 2004. So that's a good thing. And we're also at a 3-decade low when it comes to debt to income ratio. So overall, most people aren't heavily leveraged. We're probably going to see more concerns around adjustable rate mortgages and FHAs and VA loans. It has lower down payment, less equity from the get-go. Well, like for example, FHA, you do 3.5%, and if you're below a certain credit level, you gotta put 10% down. But other than that, that's how things are. And then we go back to mortgagenewsdaily.com, and we're actually looking at historically low mortgage rates. So if you are looking and you're kind of concerned about what's happening in the market, well, overall it's a seller's market. And if you live in Austin, it's definitely a seller's market. Things are moving very fast. So take advantage of it while it lasts. Thanks for watching the video.